I've never figured out the answer to that question, and I ask it all the time. I always used to jokingly, and sometimes not so jokingly, say, what is it? It must be the water.
It's incredible, the talent that has come out of Rhode Island. You know, this is a state that's on a map, not even the size of a dime.
We probably had better musicians coming out of Rhode Island than ever came out of Boston. Or I shouldn't say ever came out of Boston, but through the years that I was, playing.
This state produces so many fabulous musicians and so many politicians who need straightening out.
The state of Rhode Island is like one big city, with the suburbs of Hopkinton and all like that.
Maybe it's an ethnic thing. I mean, of course, our Italian Americans have such a rich musical history, and there's a lot of Italian musicians out there.
If we look at the Italo-Americans on Federal Hill, when the parents came to this country, they loved classical, they loved the operas.
Italian families believed in music.
And they wanted each one of their children to learn an instrument. So I'm told by Tony Tommaso, when you walked the streets of Federal Hill, every house you went by, there was some kid practicing.
And you could tell you could hear the horns playing, it was great.
Danny Conti would be practicing the trumpet. And young Eddie was a piano player and really jazz-oriented.
And I used to be practicing all the time, and then there was a market, the roof, and then there was another house and a tenement on the other side, and there was a trombone player there, an older gentleman.
Joe Conti would be practicing the violin, and when he got finished, then Al Conti would be practicing the piano.
And he was all at Dixieland, He'd holler, I hear him yell, hey kid, try this, and he'd try, it was a wonderful job. It was wonderful, yeah.
That happened family after family on Federal Hill.
Not only Italians now, but other groups of people.
I don't think I went any place where musicians studied more than they did here.
Irish people, Jewish people, French, Portuguese.
Great soloists, great musicians. They didn't come from any big cities.
The density of the population made it possible for the young musicians to hear one another play, to join bands.
I know a bunch of guys that got started like in their 17, 18, 19 years old playing with local big bands.
We have a lot of them that went from here out to travel with the big bands.
Great players who came out of this area, and the great players who were from this area who never left, like Arthur Pelosi.
Pound for pound, we have to lead the country in great musicians per thousand.
I'd say Rhode Island stands right up there with any of them.